It's 10 a.m. on a Friday in April. The University of Michigan releases a single number, 49.8. Most people don't notice. It's a consumer sentiment reading, one data point in a country drowning in data points. But this one matters because in 73 years of running this survey, no number has ever been this low. Not in 1980, with the Iran hostage crisis on every TV and Volcker hiking rates to 20%. Not in 2008, when Lehman collapsed. Not even during COVID lockdowns. The bottom of the financial crisis was 55. The bottom of the pandemic, 71. Friday morning, America came in at 49.8. 6.5 hours later, the closing bell rings on Wall Street. The S&P 500 closes at 7,165. A brand new all-time high. Same country, same day, same economy, two opposite verdicts. And here's the part that should bother you. This isn't a coincidence. It's the system doing exactly what it was built to do. Rewind 2 months, February 28th, before sunrise. US and Israeli forces strike 500 targets across Iran in a single coordinated wave. Iran's supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, is killed at his residential compound. His son is appointed within 24 hours. Iran retaliates against US bases in 7 countries, shuts the Strait of Hormuz the same day. Within a month, American gas went from $2.98 a gallon to over $4. The biggest one-month jump in gasoline prices in 6 decades. That's the backdrop. Now meet the people living inside it. Sarah Lawhan is 31, environmental scientist, 50-mile commute outside Albany. She started skipping lunch to save $30 a week. It's really hard to get ahead, she told CNN. Mark Hernandez delivers Walmart packages in El Paso, watched his pump price climb from $2.45 to $3.83 in 24 days. What gives me the most fear, he said, is not knowing from day to day how much you're going to pay. Patrick DeStevens, a civil engineer in Vancouver, Washington, drove 2,800 miles to his mother's funeral, took unpaid leave, spent an extra $100 on gas alone. His words, "It's very frustrating, I hate it." Dexia Billingsley is a security guard in Jacksonville. Mother of 2, she stopped taking her 3-year-old son, who has autism, to the park. Couldn't afford the gas. Multiply those stories by 100 million people. That's the 49.8. Now meet the woman whose job is to count them. Joanne Su has run Michigan's consumer survey since 2022. Quiet academic, research professor, doesn't make headlines. When the April number came in, she wrote a single line that stopped everyone reading the report. Decreases in sentiment were seen across political party, income, age, and education. Translation, it's not red versus blue. It's not rich versus poor. Every part of America is losing faith at the same time. She added that respondents kept blaming the Iran conflict for the changes in their economy. So why are the markets ignoring all of it? Here's where it gets strange. That Friday's record close was the end of an 8% run in just 13 trading days. Most of that move came after a ceasefire announcement on April 7th. But Michigan collected answers from March 24th to April 20th. Most respondents filled it out before the ceasefire was real. The rest were still paying $4 gas. Iran had briefly reopened, then reclosed Hormuz on April 18th. Wall Street priced the all clear. Main Street was still bleeding. And then there's the money, the actual money flowing into stocks. In the first 3 months of 2026, American companies authorized $428 billion in buybacks of their own shares. A record, up 36% from last year. Apple alone authorized roughly $100 billion. Alphabet, 70, Nvidia, 60. The single biggest buyer of American stocks right now isn't a hedge fund. It isn't a pension. It's the companies themselves. Then add this. ETFs pulled in $463 billion in the same quarter. BlackRock's iShares took $132 billion of it alone. That's mostly 401k money, automatic, mechanical, money that flows in whether you feel optimistic or terrified. Then add $184 billion in foreign capital, just in February, money looking for somewhere safer than Europe or Asia, parked in American stocks. So here's the picture. Companies buying their own shares at scale, retirement money flowing in by reflex, foreign investors parking cash in the index. The market isn't going up because Americans believe in the economy. It's going up because the buying is automatic. Even Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JP Morgan, warned this month about elevated asset prices and what he called an increasingly complex set of risks. When the biggest banker in America starts saying that out loud, you should probably listen. Now ask the question nobody on cable news asked Friday: who actually owns these stocks? According to the Federal Reserve's own data, the top 10% of American households own about 87% of all stocks. The top 1% alone owns half the market. The bottom 50% of the country owns roughly 1%. So when you see S&P hits a record, you're not watching America get richer, you're watching the top 10th get richer. The rest of the country is paying $4 for gas. The Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, said something this month that's hard to forget. His exact words: the consumer, while they may be sounding grim, is actually quite buoyant. In their heart of hearts, they feel good. 49.8 is what feeling good looks like now. The Fed chair, Jerome Powell, has been more careful. He keeps repeating the same phrase: inflation expectations. Why those matter? The moment Americans believe prices will keep climbing, they demand higher wages. Companies raise prices to cover the wages, the cycle locks in. In April, Americans told Michigan they expect 4.7% inflation over the next year, up from 3.8 the month before. The biggest one-month jump in a year. That's the number that's keeping Powell awake. That's the number that decides whether the Fed can cut rates next week. But this isn't really about one survey or one Friday. It's about something slower happening underneath. In 1989, there were 66 billionaires in America. By last September, there were 905. Their combined wealth, $7.8 trillion. The bottom half of the country's wealth share fell over the same window. Real wages right now are growing 0.3% a year, below inflation, which means, in real terms, you're getting poorer at work. Household debt just hit $18.8 trillion. An all-time record. Credit card delinquencies are climbing. The personal saving rate is 4%, half of what it was before the pandemic. Mark Zandi, the chief economist at Moody's, has been making the same point for months. The top 10% of earners now account for half of all consumer spending in America. Half, from 10% of the people. That's the engine humming beneath every record close. A small group spending a fortune, everyone else cutting back on lunch, on the park, on coffee. Paul Krugman, who spent 40 years writing about this stuff, called Friday's number a puzzle, his exact word. In 73 years, this is the lowest number ever recorded, and he doesn't have a clean explanation. The market hitting a record on the same day America hit a record low isn't a paradox, it's a confession. For half this country, the record never happened. The S&P at 7165 is somebody else's economy. The math has been quietly arranging itself this way for decades. Friday was just the day it stopped being able to hide. There's more underneath this: the buybacks, the Fed's next move. What happens when the next ceasefire breaks? I'll have it for you next week. You know where to find me.